What up, everybody? It's your boy Kentario, and I'm back again for another episode of Christ and Comic Books. Now, I know, some of you are like, man, you haven't done a video in months.
That's all right. That's okay, because sometimes in life you're gonna start slow. That's okay.
Well, I have been doing TikToks. However, I also did go on hiatus. Had a lot of personal matters going on, and I needed to focus on those things, deal with those things before I could come back and do adequate content. But as some of y'all can also tell, it seems that my scenery has changed for my videos. That being said, I don't want to stop doing videos for my YouTube. I don't want to stop doing videos for my TikTok. So we're going to keep going regardless of what the background is like. But hopefully I can speak the truth of whatever it is that I believe, whatever it is that I'm thinking. That way we can make some quality videos about what Christians should think of certain comic books, anime, movies, TV series that we're still interested in watching. Now let's get into the meat of why we're really here. And this video is going to be on the new movie that just came out May the 6th of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Arguably, we should just call this Scarlet Witch and the Multiverse of Madness. And I must say that this movie was absolutely amazing. This movie effortlessly plays a huge part in what I believe we should be expecting to see going forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it did a great job when it came to the characters, when it came to the CGI, when it came to the acting. Although me and my daughter agree, man, they be having some cheesy lines within this movie. By the way, let me go ahead and give that disclosure. There will be spoilers for the movie.
No! God, please!
So unless you've seen the movie or you don't care about spoilers, I highly recommend that you put a pause on watching this and then come back after you've done so, okay? Because we're really going to try and dive deep into what this movie has to say. So let me go ahead and tackle a couple of things because, you know, with having a TikTok, you see people's reactions and responses, and you've seen a lot of people be disappointed by what they've seen in the movie. You have a lot of people that really didn't like the movie as much as they had hoped that they would. I think the biggest contributor to that, although I don't hate anyone for having their own opinion, right? I don't want to hate on them, disrespect them, or insult them in any way. Just highlighting that what I think affects that when it's done too much could be you know, speculating what you hope to see, who you think this is, what you think that is. And unless it meets those expectations or unless it surpasses those expectations, you're just not going to like what you get, or you'll end up being disappointed, and that disappointment could affect your joy and pleasure of the movie. So I think that's something that has affected a lot of people when it came to watching Multiverse of Madness. Alright guys, now let's actually talk about the actual movie. You see, with the movie, what is actually happening is it's not what some people have speculated, it being a partnership between Wanda and Doctor Strange to address whatever issues are taking place in the multiverse. What it actually is Wanda is looking to get her hands on America Chavez, which is a young lady who has the ability to pass through the multiverse. And one of the things that they clarify in the movie is that she is the only version of herself throughout the entirety of those universes, which is also why she's able to travel between them. That plays a huge part in her character and her role. Another significant thing about America Chavez, she's another one of those young characters that they brought into the MCU that's supposed to be a part of, I guess you could say, the Young Avengers, I think is the name of the team. And so this team is slowly being developed with each and every movie and or TV series that we've been seeing in the MCU. For instance, we get one of them in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. We get, I think his name is the Patriot. We also get Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series, and many, many more. For instance, even Wanda's children. One is named Wiccan, and the other one's named Speed, which are also a part of this exact same team. Nonetheless, the premise within this movie is that Wanda is looking to get her hands on America Chavez's power so that she can travel to a universe where her children actually exist and are alive so that she can be in their lives. And she's willing to do whatever it takes to do that. She has this epic moment, actually throughout the entirety of the movie, where she's demonstrating, you know, I've actually been being merciful. Or her quote, I've been being reasonable by sending monsters or demons that I take control over to try and get this girl, versus coming myself. Because if I have to come myself, it's going to be a lot worse. And she does a great job of owning that as she starts to be, I guess you could say, unreasonable going forward when she goes to attack. That's another thing about this movie, man. is that this wasn't just an MCU movie, y'all. This was a horror movie. This was a great thriller movie. I'm talking, we got the Exorcist moments happening in here, where she's coming out of what this is, reflection dimension, and she's coming through one of these reflections to get to America, and she's doing all the popping things to get to, man, it was creepy, and it was so creepy that all she did was something as simple as limping to chase after them. And that was captivating, and I wanted to run a little bit on the inside because I was afraid that Wanda was going to get me through the movie screen. I didn't like that. I don't like that at all. That was uncomfortable. Now, let's talk about some of the primary characters in this movie. Doctor Strange, the Scarlet Witch, and America Chavez. Now, when we're looking at Doctor Strange, who the movie is named for, he himself is participating in, his ex-fiance's wedding, who she's now marrying somebody else, and he's there as just as an invitation to come and see the wedding, seeing what he could have had. But the thing is, as you see them conversing, is that it's evident that he's always chosen to be the one to be in the spotlight. I gotta fix the problems. I gotta be the one to be the hero. He's always putting himself out there to do that job. But not only that, the movie targets and focuses on how he does that almost, if not always, at any cost. Especially because we see in several different universes where he makes those same type of decisions, and it doesn't always work out in his favor when he does so, to make these types of decisions. Which actually, we're not going to focus too much on this. The quote that everyone loves to debate about, where Wanda's talking about, you do evil and you recognize as a hero, I do evil and I'm seen as a villain. Why is that? That topic is a huge focus for the whole movie, and you're sitting there debating that as you watch the movie, as you watch the character of Doctor Strange make decisions. That is the argument that is taking place in that moment. And Scarlet Witch, when I say that quote is the primary focus of this movie, she owns that, because she keeps making what you would consider, I think majority of people would consider, the bad decision, the dark decision, the wrong decision, utilizing the book that she got at the end of WandaVision, the Blood Oath or the Blood Oak, studying it and reading it and harnessing its power more and more, being that she's the Scarlet Witch. She's the one, according to Hex Magic, that is supposed to even wield this power. Her diving deeper into that is what we're watching. We're watching her become more and more corrupt with power. Her pursuit of power, what she's willing to do with that power. Even more so, what she's willing to do to get more power. Because remember, her target is America Chavez, which is a young lady that is the next focus in my point here, is a young lady who, while she was with her family, she was, just observing flowers and having this cherished moment with family. And what ends up happening is she gets scared of a bee. And in getting scared of a bee is the first moment where she opens up a portal to a different dimension. She gets sucked in, and so do her parents. And that's where she gets stuck, traveling between the multiverse. Now, they don't dive any deeper into that than that particular instance as to how she got stuck here. But the focus is of her staying away from Wanda. The focus is of her harnessing her power, and I guess you could say the battle is either she harnesses it or someone else is going to take it from her. That's something that is a sub-focus for the movie when you're looking at America Chavez. And I believe that the actress and the character, although I don't know a lot about her from a comic book standpoint, I believe that she represented herself well. She could, here's what I liked about the way that she was portrayed. She was kind of portrayed as like that come-up person into heroism. Like, they observe heroism, they like the heroism, and they would like to be in that position, but there's some things that they don't understand. There's some things that they don't fully grasp about what it means to be in that role, which is why her powers are only triggered when she's scary, because she otherwise doesn't have that level of self-control. And when we see her behave in such a way that is adorable, that makes you almost feel like you are her in this adventure, if I do say so myself. Now, this next piece I would like to cover is, it seems as though that there's a couple of messages that is being tackled throughout the entirety of the movie, and one of which is doubling back to that quote. Like I said, you do evil, you're recognized as a hero. I do the evil, I'm seen as a villain. Why is that, right? That hypocrisy, addressing that hypocrisy, and the way that they illustrated this story effectively tackles that very point, because we see what Wanda's doing. She's killing people to do this. She's taking control of demons. She's reading an evil spellbook to be able to harness power to do these things. And all of the things that she did cost several people their lives. At the same time, we see not only with the main universe, Doctor Strange, but with the other universe versions of him, that he's willing to make that same decision that would risk somebody's life in order for him to save the universe, or save the multiverse, or save the world. He thinks he's doing right, but it ends up hurting people in the end. Notably, in the very beginning of the movie, when America Chavez is in what they confirm is to be like an in-between universe. In this in-between, it's like a space between the universes. So in that space, her and another one of the Doctor Stranges are fighting one of the demons that were sent to get America Chavez. And in this battle, he's holding the demon off, trying to seal him enough to keep him away. And he thinks, the only thing I can do now is take America's power. That's my only option. All I can do is take your power. But it would kill her if you take her power. And he begins to try and do that. And in beginning to try and do that, he of course he gets wrecked by the demon thing. He breaks out and it kills him. And we see him making that wrong decision, costing that young girl her life, thinking he's doing something for the greater good. We have what we even seen in the What If series. If you watch Disney Plus series, the What If series, that a Doctor Strange destroyed his entire universe just in hopes of having his girl back, right? We've seen him do that. We've seen in this movie as well that there was another version of him where they did that something similar to the What If series, where he calls an incursion, where two universes collapse in on each other, and he's the only surviving person in this universe. And what does he do to get his hands on power? He gets his hand on the blood oath.
Boy, if you don't get
Blood oath, and uses that power, which is what causes the destruction in the first place. And in the same universe, he loses his beloved as well. But it seems like there's two different ones. It's not the same one from What If. That's one thing everyone thought was going to be the case. It wasn't the case in this movie. It's not the same one. Because that one is watching over Evil Vision and Killmonger, who both were trying to get their hands on the Infinity Stones that can work across the multiverse. Which, ooh, that's very scary to know that those stones are out there. But they were trying to get their hands on those stones. So those are two different people. That's another one of those disappointments that the people had with the movie. However, although it wasn't him, his role in that moment, amazing. He did that extremely well. But like I said, that's actually validating and confirming that Wanda was right. So much so, the biggest thing that happens is there's supposed to be a pure spell book that if a sorcerer was to get their hands on that book, they'd be able to use that power to defeat any opponent that they come against, which is the opposite of the Blood Oath. However, this book gets destroyed in the movie, and so Doctor Strange doesn't get his hands on it. What does he think he should do? Well, let me get my hands on the Blood Oath in another universe then. What? Willing to corrupt himself enough to be able to defeat Wanda, which is a huge cost. He simply put, he ends up using the Blood Oath to possess a dead version of himself that's in the main Marvel universe so that he could fight Wanda. But to take over a dead body is basically a crime within the sorcerer or spell universes. That's a big crime, to take over a dead body. And souls of damned people will come to take you and to destroy you for what you've done. And that's something that happened to him. Interestingly enough, he took over their power and used their power to combat Wanda, which worked out for them, but you'll see in the end of the movie that ends up corrupting Strange, or having a negative effect on Strange. So that's something that validates, once again, what Wanda was saying. She calls him a hypocrite at least 3 or 4 times in the movie, and she seems to be validated in her accusation. Some other points to make that happened in this movie, one of which being that we know that in Infinity War, even into Endgame, Doctor Strange gives the Time Stone to Thanos, because when he used the Time Stone to see what options that he had as to where they could beat Thanos, the only one that would work would be giving him the Time Stone, which would result in his defeat. Now, he saw multiple options. He saw one was the only way. However, what we get in the movie is we see that in different universes for Doctor Strange, there's another version where he went corrupt, using the Blood Oath's powers so that he could beat Thanos. But in doing so, he made other corrupt decisions that resulted in the Illuminati, yes, the Illuminati is there. We'll go there in a minute. The Illuminati needing to destroy him because otherwise he would be the next threat to the universe, to the multiverse even. So they wiped him out because he would be a problem. Although they took that time to paint the picture that Doctor Strange was the hero when he really was a part of the problem. But long story short, this shows that there were actual other options for Doctor Strange to defeat Thanos, for the team to defeat Thanos, but he chose this way, which some people, especially after watching the movie, are debating, well, now that that's happened, was that actually the only way? We didn't have to have this people be disappeared, people gone for 5 years. We didn't have to go through that. So Doctor Strange made a bad decision. There's people that think that. But I'm gonna double back to that because I think they're actually wrong on that point. But like I said, we'll come back to that. Another thing that I think was hugely valuable to observe is Wong said something in the beginning of the movie The Strange. He said that what was happening was Scarlet Witch was using runes on the demons so that she could control them, which are those markings. If you've seen WandaVision, Agatha was using runes to make this barrier within the town within Westview, the town that Scarlet Witch had taken over. Just watch the show, guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you about every series. Jeez. So she was using the runes to control the demons. And what Wong said was, he said, this is not sorcery. This is witchcraft. Now, with him saying it that way, it was almost as if he was trying to paint this picture. When you're doing sorcery, that's good magic. When you're using witchcraft, that's bad magic. Now, we're going to dive deeper into that when we're talking the Christian perspective. However, what the movie does is, whether or not you're using witchcraft or sorcery, you're both capable of doing evil with said power. You are able to harness evil power, even in regards to those two things. And so I think that the movie did a great job of breaking down that barrier that they were trying to paint, at least from the hero versus villain perspective. They did a great job of breaking down that barrier and clarifying there really is no difference. There really is no difference. Now, here's something huge that I wonder, I don't know if any other fans are catching this. I don't know if any other fans are observing this. So when Moon Knight came out, one of the things that was, well, let me double back even farther. When WandaVision came out, one of the things that we saw was with WandaVision was we were observing and recognizing the battle of women's mental health through Wanda. She was struggling with having had killed her loved one just for him to have to be resurrected and killed and the enemy win in the end. That was a huge mental damage for her. She couldn't have the love of her life, and even if she had the love of her life, she couldn't have children of her own. And so, which resulted in what she did in WandaVision, taking control of Westview, altering reality so that she could have her children, have her husband, because she altered reality so he could exist. So she could have her husband and live this happy family life that she always wanted. All of this was happening subconsciously. She wasn't intentionally manipulating these people, but it was all harnessed from her pain and her trauma all the way back to her childhood. They do a great job of telling that throughout the series. And then what we get now when we're talking about like Moon Knight, even now what we have, when people are observing like what the Hulk went through, what Thor went through, we're seeing that people are observing the mental struggle that men have. And that's what's focused on here in Doctor Strange, at least halfway. We're focusing on the mental health of Doctor Strange. Because here's the question that's asked. And it's asked by Christine first and a couple of other characters throughout the movie, I think about 3 times. They asked the question to him, are you happy? And he said yes, but deep down there was an inner warfare, an inner struggle. And that's one thing that is becoming a primal focus when we're talking about men. Well, what are you really dealing with? What are you really feeling? And I'm good, and keep on pressing, because we have these responsibilities, we have these things that we need to get done, or that we think that we need to prioritize over our own care and how we are doing, and lose sight of the fact that I got this problem that I need to deal with. I'm not happy, or I'm not making decisions that would please me, that would be good for me. I'm not making those type of decisions. At the same time, I don't have time for them. So that's the biggest battle that we see in this movie with Doctor Strange, is him wrestling with choosing to be a hero over his happiness. That's a huge battle. The other half of that is with Wanda and with several other female characters, which is something that we see, you know, people are actually frustrated about. But because of the way that the movie portrays this, they shouldn't be. I'm going to tackle that here in a second. But what they're doing is women coming to power. They are actually hitting on that a lot throughout the MCU of women coming to power. We got in the What If series, we got Captain Carter, we got Gamora not only beating Thanos, but she got her hand, well, she was able to destroy the stones in her universe. You know, we got we got more female characters from Black Widow, her sister. We got Kate Bishop being a new Hawkeye. We got America Chavez being a female hero in this new team. You know, we see women stepping up into these power positions. Captain Marvel being played by Brie Larson, being that powerful female character. We saw here in this movie where Captain Carter is a part of the Illuminati. Monica Rambeau's mother was the one that got her hands on the power of Captain Marvel, so she's the Captain Marvel. And Wanda being arguably the strongest character in the entirety of the MCU. She's the strongest character. I'm just not going to argue that. So we see all of this rise to power. We see what's coming in Thor: Love and Thunder. We have Jane Foster getting her hands on Mjolnir and becoming the new Thor, who's a female. The She-Hulk series is coming out. She's going to become a Hulk. She's stepping up into power. All of these female characters getting power. And where people see that as a problem, or they're concerned that it's this woke culture, what the MCU at least has done in this movie has shown that in coming to power, women are not exceptions to the corruption of power. And I think that was beautifully portrayed in this movie. Another thing is, I hate to bring this up because we haven't talked about the Illuminati yet, but with the Illuminati being in here, the male characters died first when they were attempting to fight Wanda, save Professor Xavier. But the male characters died first, and then the female characters died. So although the women had power, the women still lost. So I think that's something to recognize. Even though there were female characters and they had power and they played these roles in the show as well, or in the movie as well, they still died. They still lost. Wanda was still being corrupted by the Blood Oath, no matter how powerful she was. So I think they did that beautifully in illustrating these things, because these are the things that people aren't talking. These are the things that people aren't effectively able to discuss one to another. But man, if they can tell it in a movie, I think they'll get it. And I think that's what they did in this movie. Men's mental health is extremely important to address. Women coming into power, and how even if we open up that door, which is not a bad thing, they can still have the possibility of being corrupted. And so we also need to be mindful of that. Those are powerful messages that this movie is portraying. And guys, who can be disappointed that the Illuminati are in the MCU? The question though becomes, are they going to be the only Illuminati? Right? That's one question that I had. One of the things that was confirmed though for a lot of people is we have Reed Richards here being portrayed by the person that everyone has been wanting. I don't remember his name, but we're gonna click that right there. That way you can see that this guy, whoever that is. But they got him to play Reed Richards. That's what everyone's been hoping for. They knew he'd be great for it, and when he played it, he was great for it. Although I thought he was completely idiotic for thinking he's gonna stretch his hand at Wanda to hopefully stop her from attack. You are not Monkey D. Luffy, my guy. Your stretching ain't gonna do nothing for nobody. You should have brought out the Ultimate Nullifier. That probably would have helped, but you know, we see what you did. You died, right? You died first. I think my favorite thing about the Illuminati, I'm not gonna lie guys, is when they brought, I think his name Patrick Stewart, when they brought him out as Professor Xavier in the big old yellow motor chair, man, I about lost it. Oh, dude, forgive me, Christian brothers and sisters, but I nerdgasmed at this.
What did he say?
This was it was amazing. But then, they killed him. I knew they were gonna kill him, but what hurt was, it was a mental battle. He went inside Wanda's mind and was hoping to pull out she was possessing a different universe version of herself, what's called dream walking, which we'll tackle in the Christian perspective. But she dreamwalked, took over another body, and so what he was trying to do was, he was trying to pull out the original host of that Wanda's body so that she could take back control. And then Wanda and her creepy self come in a cloud of smoke, grabs him and snaps his neck. You know why I lost it? Because there's another psychic character that's possessed with power that's killed him. Remember in X-Men Last Stand who did that? Freaking Phoenix. Oh, I was so mad. Why are these women, these redheaded women, killing Professor Xavier? I can't stand it. It drives me insane. But amazing. Almost made me want to cry. That's how good it was. Okay, but these are the points that I want to just kind of tackle from the movie itself, guys. And now we're going to turn around and get into that Christian perspective, because I know a lot of Christians probably are arguing whether or not they should watch this, but there's also a lot of Christian weebs or Christian geeks, Christian nerds that think it's perfectly fine, it's just fiction, this isn't real magic, it doesn't have any side effects, blah, blah, blah. I think both parties are wrong in the immediate responses that they have to something like this. I don't think they are obligated to watch it. I don't think that, you should just sit there and speak lightly to there being witchcraft and magic in movies, especially if you're concerned about, one, being disobedient to God, and two, if you're concerned about somebody's soul. You shouldn't take those things lightly. You need to be cautious, you need to be observant, and you really need to definitely have your limits. That's something that's extremely true. And that's the main focus of this movie, is magic. But before we actually talk about that, I think that we should talk about the smaller piece that some people might be worried about as Christians. Now, that smaller piece being that America Chavez has lesbian parents. I can't remember 100% if she herself is a lesbian character. She might be. But she has two mothers. And where that would be a major... Well, we're just not going to watch it because they got two mothers in the movie, right? My point to that would be, I don't think the church should act as though there aren't, gays or lesbians, transgender people that exist in this world, nor should we act as though we're not going to be working with them, we're not going to pass them in the store, we're not going to have an opportunity to share the gospel with them, we're not going to have opportunities to show them love. The way that they are in this world is something that should not be absent completely from our lives. We need to recognize that they exist. And the movie, although they have them in there, did do a good job of illustrating this, from showing that there are some households where there are two mothers. They didn't have these two mothers having sex in the movie. They didn't have these two mothers being all kissy, lovey-dovey, touching on each other. They were just present in their daughter's life, and they cared about her safety. That is just that. That was it. That's what they showed. And they're out there, okay? And I think that is important for us to recognize, similar to that there's magic in the movie, or there's magic in the MCU, is that witchcraft genuinely is practiced here in this world. We can't act like it doesn't exist. We can't be so hard pressed against it that we lose sight of the fact that we have a responsibility to minister the gospel to them, versus judging them, ridiculing them, cutting them out of our lives. Because look, if you act that hard, then you seem as though you would be willing to bring back that old school practice of the Salem witch trials. You sound like you'll be willing to chop off their heads just for being in this nation. That's not how we conduct ourselves as Christians and believers in Jesus Christ. Had Jesus not come yet? Sure, but we would be in our own nation, worshiping whatever God we're worshiping until the Israelites came to conquer us, and we decide whether we would die or if we would follow God and be bondservants. So, that's just kind of how I see that, guys. I don't think we should take that so seriously, at least not to that judgmental level. All right, let's get into the magic, okay? Because the magic is huge in this movie. Now, I already talked about this just a little bit. Should we be concerned about the magic in the movie? First answer is, yeah. Magic isn't something that you should play with. Magic isn't something that you should take lightly. Witchcraft is real, voodoo is real, and these things have detrimental effects on a lot of people's lives here in this world. For it to be in this movie, however, I don't think you should look at that in the way that you're looking at it, because here's my thing with the MCU having magic within it. My big thing, just go ahead and clear this up, because I did this in the WandaVision video. If you have not seen my videos on WandaVision, go back and watch that, because Wanda and Vision's relationship is actually the epitome of what I think the MCU is doing when we're talking about magic or their power systems, right? Since the beginning, since Iron Man, what they've had is humanity harnessing machines for power to be able, or science for power to be able to combat whatever threats they have coming. But then we see on the other hand, for instance, with Red Skull, right, fighting Captain America, what we see illustrated with that is harnessing magic to then be able to create more advanced scientific technology. And what we got in the Thor movie, when he first met Jane Foster, she said the significant thing, or at least he did, I can't remember which one said it. They said, you know, what you consider to be science, that's magic for us, and vice versa. These both go hand in hand, or they're interchangeable. And to see that it's either science and technology, or it is magic, those two coming together to butt heads or work together as one. That has been the biggest thing that the MCU has been illustrating. We saw that with WandaVision. It was a robot who was powered by a magical stone, the Mind Stone, falling in love with a young lady who has been empowered by the same stone, but at the same time also is to be prophesied to be a Scarlet Witch, harnessing the darkest of magic, hex magic, right? So we see that being portrayed here in this very movie, which, like, they're continuing with that very same trend, which that's where my concern comes from, because I don't think that that's something that we should take lightly. I don't think we should be so easily perpetuating magic in the lives of our children. We shouldn't be easily perpetuating magic in the lives of adults, because you can be an adult and have the ability to say, yeah, it's just fiction. But the moment you turn your back on something, that's when you get stabbed in the back, right? So you need to tread softly when looking at stuff like this, whether it's fiction or not. But I want to go back to tackling what Wong said at the beginning of the movie, where he said this isn't sorcery, this is witchcraft. And that's where I actually give the movie kudos. From a Christian perspective, I give the movie kudos, because it does a great job of pointing out the evil in witchcraft, in a sense. It does it the way it's going to do it for the MCU. We can use this for good. But they're like, man, has it been and can it be used for evil? And we see that in the way that they made it so horrific, dark, and grotesque in some sense, at least still keeping it with that Disney energy. But man, was this movie... This movie had me on my toes. I wasn't scared like that, like I'm about to get demon possessed or demon oppressed. I wasn't scared like that. I ain't worried about that. That's not coming in my house. I pray against that on the daily, not allowing it with me. You know what I'm saying? But the way that they portrayed that darkness, from what I've seen as far as reactions from people throughout the movie theater, it was as though they were feeling that too. Man, this is dark. Man, this is evil. Like, I sensed that from the people around me, that was being captured by the way that this movie was portrayed. Because we see evil definitely with Wanda, but then we saw this evil with Doctor Strange, right? And that's, again, when I was talking about before how he harnessed the power of those damned souls that were coming to try and attack him, Doctor Strange. When he harnessed their power, that's where it immediately clicked for me. That's a bad message, though, because now we're trying to see that we can, those things that are actually in control, the evil entities that are in control, whether it be a demon, whether it be this evil magic book, whether it be the souls of the damned, well, I can actually take control of that power and use it for good. That's a huge lie, and don't you be deceived by it. We can't harness the power of the evil things and think that we can use it for good. We can't take something that is done in evil and use it for good. The only person that can do that is God. And I don't care who you are. The only person that can do that is God. And so that's something to be cautious of. However, when you're looking at this movie, recognize, man, they made it clear that witchcraft and sorcery, they're both one and the same, and they both can be used for evil. But at the same time, don't think that you can harness your demons and overcome. It don't work like that. You'd be lying to yourself if you thought that. So thank you guys so very much for joining me as we've reviewed the movie of Multiverse of Madness. Please stay tuned, as I will be continuing doing more videos. I will at least be attempting to do one YouTube video per week. Be tuning in the following week as we will tackle Moon Knight. That's definitely, although it's finished before Multiverse of Madness, I definitely want to tackle that and put some good focus on that movie next week. So thank you guys so very much for watching this video. Make sure that you hit the like button, as well as hit that subscribe button if you're not already following this channel, and let me know what movies, anime series, comic book reviews you'd like to see me do, and I'll definitely give you my honest opinion from a Christian perspective. I pray this helps you make your own decisions. And remember, guys, use your discernment as you're choosing what it is that you're going to take into your lives. Thank you. Have a blessed day. Peace.